An underage showgirl, advice from Elvis, and a beef with Vampira, Elvira traveled a long and sometimes terrifying road to become a horror icon. The character of Elvira radiates confidence. However, performer Cassandra Peterson used to be insecure about her appearance due to a childhood accident. When she was just 1 year old, Peterson's mother and cousin were coloring Easter eggs. The eggs were in a large kettle when Peterson climbed up onto a chair and accidentally poured the boiling water all over herself. Her shoulders, neck, back, and legs were extremely burned. Peterson's mother rushed her to the hospital, but the damage was severe. As stated in her autobiography, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark, Peterson lost her hair, her eyelids were fused shut, and her skin was terribly burned. Speaking to Yahoo, Peterson explained, "Everywhere that my mother had to hold on to me, the skin came off. They didn't think I was going to survive because 35% of my body was third-degree burns." At a burn center, Peterson received experimental penicillin treatments that saved her life. She would also have multiple surgeries and skin grafts to treat her scarring.
Luckily, I am mainly scarred on all the parts that don't show in my Elvira dress.
Discussing her childhood, Cassandra Peterson told Yahoo, "I don't know where my confidence came from because I really suffered most of my life from having no confidence. I was a really shy loner kind of kid, hanging out by myself. However, everything changed when an 8-year-old Peterson was taken to see House on Haunted Hill, starring horror icon Vincent Price by her cousin.
It starred Vincent Price, and it was the movie that as a child got me into liking horror.
Afterwards, she had nightmares for a month, and her parents were furious that she'd been taken to such a scary movie. But as Peterson revealed in her memoir, she was hooked. As a result, she quickly started devouring every horror movie she could, especially Hammer films and anything starring Vincent Price.
I was super into horror when I was a kid.
Through horror, Peterson found a way to embrace her differences. While her siblings played with dolls, Peterson collected figurines of Universal monsters like Dracula and the Mummy, which she painted herself. In a Build interview, Peterson explained that her mother owned a costume shop and that she would regularly borrow outfits and wear them to school.
I dressed in creepy costumes all the time to go to school. I was a complete freak. Everyone hated me.
House on Haunted Hill wasn't the only movie that had a profound impact on Cassandra Peterson's life. In an interview with Vulture, she revealed that seeing Anne Margaret playing a showgirl in Viva Las Vegas inspired her to want to become a showgirl too. At 17, Peterson's family took her on a trip to Las Vegas. There, she convinced them to take her to a show called Vive les Girls, even though she wasn't technically old enough to attend. She dressed up, trying to look older in a push-up bra and makeup, which caught the attention of someone who worked at the show, and she was invited to audition. Peterson excelled in her audition and was hired on the spot. She confessed that she was underage, but they still wanted her in the show. Her parents had to legally give their permission by signing a document with a lawyer.
I was a showgirl in Las Vegas by the time I was 17.
As Peterson told Vulture, "I wasn't able to enter the hotel except through the back through the kitchen. I couldn't drink or gamble or go in the casino, but I could dance in a G-string on stage. Very strange." As a teenager, Peterson had a major crush on Elvis, and as a showgirl in Las Vegas, she was actually able to meet him when he came to watch one of her performances. Afterwards, the two hung out, and Elvis gave the future Elvira some life-changing advice. After hearing Peterson sing, Elvis told her she had talent and suggested that she should get singing lessons and pursue a career outside of Vegas. As the performer told Vulture, "He actually convinced me that I shouldn't be in Vegas, and that it wasn't a good place for a young girl, and that I should get the hell out of there as quickly as I could." At first, Peterson was disappointed because she had always dreamed of being a showgirl. But as the advice came from her teen idol, she took what he had to say seriously. When her contract with the show expired, Peterson left Vegas. While Elvira has been called Mistress of the Dark and Queen of Halloween, she is not all doom and gloom. One of the things that has always drawn fans to Elvira is her bubbly, girly personality and ditzy sense of humor. And before she was a gothic queen, Elvira was a valley girl. After leaving her job as a Las Vegas showgirl, Peterson had to travel in order to find work in show business. For a while, she toured the United States and Europe singing with a rock band for the Los Angeles Times. However, what she really wanted to do was comedy. Peterson moved to Los Angeles and dedicated herself to auditioning for roles. It wasn't long before she joined the now famous improv group The Groundlings and began working on characters. One of those characters would someday become the basis for her beloved persona Elvira. As Peterson explained in her book, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Memoirs of the Mistress of the Dark, "My character was unique in that she had a heavy valley girl accent, something that had only recently been made popular by Frank Zappa and his daughter Moon Unit in the song of the same name." In the 1950s, Mila Nurmi went to a Halloween party dressed as Morticia from the Addams Family. She was spotted by a producer who recruited her to introduce the horror films on a TV station, and Nurmi became the first horror host, Vampira. According to the Associated Press, in 1981, a new B-movie horror series was being planned by KHJ-TV that was supposed to be a reboot to the Vampira show. Nurmi still had the rights to her character, but she didn't want to reprise it herself. The network wanted Cassandra Peterson to be the next Vampira, but Nurmi didn't. Nurmi already had a replacement in mind for the next Vampira, and that was Lola Falana. Both an actress and a singer, Falana had massive success as a nightclub performer in Las Vegas. While Falana seemed perfect for the role of Vampira, the network rejected her and cast Peterson without Nurmi's permission. According to her book, Yours Cruelly, Elvira, Peterson had responded to an open casting call and wasn't responsible for the network's decision to reject Falana. However, the resentment between horror's queens ran deep, and Nurmi even attempted to sue Peterson for copying her character in 1988. Nurmi reportedly declared, per the Associated Press, "There is no Elvira, there is only a pirated Vampira." On the first day of shooting, Cassandra Peterson was still supposed to be playing Vampira. However, just as they were about to shoot the show's intro, they received a call from Mila Nurmi's lawyer telling them that they couldn't use the character of Vampira. Fortunately, Peterson had already been working on her own character and was ready to transform her Valley Girl into the Queen of Halloween.
I'm me. I'm spooky, sexy, and funny. That's me.
In an interview with Dread Central, Peterson admitted that the name Elvira was chosen almost at random. It was put into a hat along with a number of other suggestions, including Cassandra and Luna, and Elvira was chosen completely by chance. The initial design that Peterson and her close friend, costume designer Robert Redding, came up with also had to change. As the star told Vogue, her original costume design was pink and white, and the physical features were completely different. The whole makeup and hair would have been my own hair, which is long and red, and the makeup would be more like pale lips, a pale face, and dark around the eyes, kind of a dead girl look. However, the studio rejected the look as they wanted Elvira to dress in black like Vampira. Instead, they took inspiration from a drag look created by Redding, which included heavy kabuki-inspired makeup and the sexiest dress they could get away with. Elvira's look may have come together at the last minute, but that doesn't make it any less iconic. In fact, Peterson's Elvira outfit has barely changed since she first introduced the character in the 1980s. While the exact dress Elvira wore on those first shows is no longer used, every dress the character has worn since has been created from Redding's original 80s pattern. One of the most distinct elements of Elvira's costume, which sets it apart from earlier goth icons like Vampira and Morticia, is her belt, which is latched with a dagger. But as Cassandra Peterson told Vogue, Elvira's original belt wasn't so unique. In fact, in the beginning, the belt that Elvira wore was one she had gotten straight off the rack at Macy's. Peterson went shopping with costume designer Robert Redding and picked up a leather belt that was held together in the front with a pin. In 1983, Redding came up with a variation of the original design, which included a dagger. As Peterson explained to Vogue, he designed a drawing of a dagger and then we went out and had it cast in metal and added jewels to it. The dagger was physically made by A1 Pleating, a specialized custom belt maker that would go on to make Michael Jackson's gloves. The original KHJ TV series Elvira's Movie Macabre was a cult sensation and a huge success for the network. Initially, Cassandra Peterson didn't share in the success and was compensated very little. As reported by the Los Angeles Times, the network was able to sell 2.7 million pairs of 3D glasses for an Elvira special, while Peterson was only paid about $350 for her work. However, Elvira presented the perfect opportunity for merchandise, and Peterson retained the rights to her character. Speaking to Los Angeles Magazine, she revealed, "I'm very fortunate. I do a lot of conventions where I see a lot of other celebrities. None of them can sell their merchandise. None of them get anything but a few pennies from whatever action figures or t-shirts they have. I lucked out so much to keep control." Elvira has remained unchanged throughout the decades because Peterson has been able to maintain control of the character. Cassandra Peterson came out in her memoir declaring that she had been in a committed relationship with a woman for almost 2 decades. Peterson admitted that when she first saw her future partner at the gym, she thought she was a man, who she described as tan, muscular, and brooding. Although they began as friends, the pair eventually fell in love and moved in together. They kept their relationship a secret for a long time, fearing that Elvira's fans wouldn't react well. However, many of Elvira's most dedicated fans are part of the LGBTQ+ community themselves.
Holding in secrets all the time, it really gives you gas, you know?
The film Elvira, Mistress of the Dark was a niche cult classic rather than a mainstream success. Despite not having any explicitly gay content, it has always been a hit among gay fans. Elvira's longtime collaborator and underground drag performer Joshua Grinnell, also known as Peaches Christ, explained the gay community's love of Elvira, telling Matt Baum, "We respond to uniqueness, outsider personas very well for obvious reasons. She doesn't fit in with the world. The Christians hate her. What queer person isn't going to identify with that narrative?" It goes without saying that Elvira has become an alternative beauty icon. In fact, many teen fans reportedly resonate with the character's tough attitude and how little she seems to care about what anyone else thinks. As Peterson told Los Angeles Magazine, Elvira represents a total misfit. She's kind of an outcast, but she doesn't care. I think it gives people like that the attitude of, I don't have to be so upset about it. I can just go my own way and be who I am.